Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be going through a quick library haul. I was just randomly browsing the stacks looking for some historical fiction, and I picked out some titles which looked interesting to me, and I guess I'll see whether or not I care for them or not. And let's start with the one on the top of the pile, A Splendid Ruin by Megan Chance. The eve of destruction. After her mother's death, penniless May Kimball lives a lonely life until an aunt she didn't know existed summons her to San Francisco. There she's welcomed into the wealthy Sullivan family and their social circle. Initially overwhelmed by the opulence of her new life, May soon senses that dark mysteries lurk in the shadows of the Sullivan mansion. Her glamorous cousin often disappears in the night. Her aunt wanders about in a laudanum fog. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that word. And a maid keeps hinting that May is in danger. Trapped by betrayal, madness, and murder, May stands to lose everything, including her freedom, at the hands of those she trusts most. Then, on an early April morning, San Francisco comes tumbling down. Out of the smoldering ruins, May embarks on a harrowing road to reclaim what is hers. This tragic twist of fate, along with the help of an intrepid and charismatic journalist, puts vengeance within May's reach. But will she take it? So this is obviously the Edwardian era, and I really like San Francisco settings, and the San Francisco earthquake of 1906. That's just such fertile ground for fiction and like films and novels and memoirs over the years. It's just I love natural disasters and macabre, depressing stuff like that. So hopefully this will be right up my alley. And the second one is historical fiction about one of my feminist heroes, Eleanor of Aquitaine, The Autumn Throne by Elizabeth Chadwick. Imprisoned by her husband, separated from her children, if King Henry II thought these things would push his queen into submission, he was wrong. Eleanor of Aquitaine refuses to give in to his tyranny. Freed by his death, she becomes Dowager Queen of England. But the competition for land and power that Henry has bred among his sons has grown into a dangerous rivalry that Eleanor has to skillfully control. Eleanor needs every ounce of courage and fortitude as she crosses the Alps in winter to bring her son Richard his bride, ransom him from imprisonment, and deal with his brother John's treachery. Her indomitable spirit is tested to its limits as she attempts to keep the peace between her warring sons, fend off enemies, and negotiate a magnificent future for a chosen granddaughter. New York Times best-selling author Elizabeth Chadwick returns for the third and final book in her highly acclaimed Eleanor of Aquitaine trilogy. Oh, I didn't realize this is the third book of a trilogy. The other two are called The Summer Queen and The Winter Crown. So hopefully, it won't matter if you're reading it out of order. And I'm sorry, this I should have mentioned. I got a little fountain pen ink on my hand when I was filling up my two beautiful new fountain pens. You'll see them hopefully if you want to in a future What's Cheering Me Up Right Now video. I'm just so absolutely in love with these beautiful pens from the high class Italian pen company Leonardo. But let's get back to the books. This is A Hope Divided by Alyssa during the U.S. Civil War, and someone covered up the synopsis a little bit, but I had to look for the name that was being chalked out. I didn't guess what the name actually is because why would you put a sticker over the synopsis? It's just not rocket science. For all of the war between the states, Marley Lynch has helped the cause in peace with coded letters about anti-rebel uprisings in her Carolina woods, tisanes and poultices for Union prisoners, and silent aid to fleeing slave and free man alike, her formerly enslaved mother's traditions, and the name of a white father she never knew have protected her. Until the vicious Confederate Home Guard claims Marley's home for their new base of operations in the guerrilla war against Southern resistors of the rebel cause. Unbeknownst to those under her roof, escaped prisoner Ewan McCall is sheltering in her laboratory. Seemingly a quiet philosopher, Ewan has his own history with the cruel captain of the Home Guard and a thoughtful but unbending strength Marley finds irresistible. When the revelation of a stunning family secret places Marley's freedom on the line, she and Ewan have to run for their lives into the hostile Carolina night. Following the path of the Underground Railroad, they find themselves caught up in a vicious battle that could dash their hopes of love and freedom before they ever cross state lines. And this is another book. I don't know if this is part of a series or they're just self-standing novels in the same setting of the Civil War by the same writer. So it just looked interesting. I wanted to check them both out. Elle Burns is a former slave with a passion for justice and an eidetic memory. It means like you basically remember everything that's ever happened, and like once you see something, you remember it completely. That's even like better than my, famously elephantine memory. Trading in her life of freedom in Massachusetts, she returns to the indignity of slavery in the South to spy for the Union Army. Malcolm McCall is a detective for Pinkerton's Secret Service. Subterfuge is his calling, but he's facing his deadliest mission yet, risking his life to infiltrate a rebel enclave in Virginia. Two undercover agents who share a common cause and an undeniable attraction, Malcolm and Elle join forces when they discover a plot that could turn the tide of the war in the Confederacy's favor. Caught in a tightening web of wartime intrigue and fighting a fiery and forbidden love, Malcolm and Elle must make their boldest move to preserve the Union at any cost, even if it means losing each other. And this is the penultimate book on the stack, The House Girl by Tara Conklin, and it's has the same like slavery setting, although not quite the Civil War, a little bit before that. It does do one of my like least favorite trends, as I've said several times, the dual timeline, like, oh, it's in the past, and oh, someone in the future is trying to solve a mystery from the past, or it's like this person is discovering a secrets or whatever. Like, I just choose one setting and stick with it, or maybe like, oh, it's a flashback to the past and a couple of like wraparound segments, but I just really don't like this like moving forward one and moving back the other, and oh, it has to be linked to someone in the present. You can't just do like straight historical all the way through, but I guess I'll talk more about that in a future video about like, general trends I do not like in historical fiction or books in general. Here's a synopsis. 2004. Lena Sparrow is an ambitious young lawyer working on a historic class action lawsuit seeking reparations for the descendants of American slaves. 1852. Josephine is a 17-year-old house slave who tends to the mistress of a Virginia tobacco farm, an aspiring artist named Luann Bell. It is through her father, renowned artist Oscar Sparrow, that Lena discovers a controversy rocking the art world. Art historians now suspect the revered paintings of Luann Bell, an antebellum artist known for her humanizing portraits of the slaves who worked her Virginia tobacco farm, were actually the work of her house slave, Josephine. A descendant of Josephine's would be the perfect face for the lawsuit, if Lena can find one, but nothing is known about Josephine's fate following Luann Bell's death in 1852. In piecing together Josephine's story, Lena embarks on a journey that will lead her to question her own life, including the full story of her mother's mysterious death 20 years before. Alternating between antebellum Virginia and modern-day New York, this searing tale of art and history, love and secrets, explores what it means to repair a wrong and asks whether truth can be more important than justice. And this is the final one. It looked like it might be taking a few like historical liberties, but if I do a future video on that, I'll tell a little bit. It looked like there was like writing in like a romance between the character in this book and like the wife of James Joyce, so I'll have to do a little more research to find out if that was actually happening. But anyway, this is the Paris Bookseller by Kerri, Maher, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing her name. The dramatic story of how a humble bookseller fought against incredible odds to bring one of the most important books of the 20th century to the world. When bookish young American Sylvia Beach opens Shakespeare and Company on a quiet street in Paris in 1919, she has no idea she and her new bookstore will change the course of literature itself. Shakespeare and Company is more than a bookstore and lending library. Many of the prominent writers of the lost generation, like Ernest Hemingway, consider it a second home. It's where some of the most important literary friendships of the 20th century are forged, none more so than the one between Irish writer James Joyce and Sylvia herself. When Joyce's controversial novel Ulysses is banned, Beach takes a massive risk and publishes it under the auspices of Shakespeare and Company. But the success and notoriety from publishing the most infamous and influential book of the century come with steep costs. The future of her beloved store itself is threatened when Ulysses' success brings other publishers to woo Joyce away. Her most cherished relationships are put to the test as Paris is plunged deeper and deeper into the Depression and many expatriate friends return to America. As she faces painful personal and financial crises, Sylvia, a woman who has made it her mission to honor the life-changing impact of books, Let's decide what Shakespeare and Company truly means to her. And maybe this isn't a fictional character. I should do more research about that. Maybe it is a, a real person. I have many thoughts about this trend of like only using real characters in historical fiction instead of making up your own original characters. But I can do that in a future video. And so thanks for watching all the way to the end. Please consider leaving a comment. I really, really like seeing comments from you guys. And I will see you very soon in the next video. I'm thinking of next week of doing a video like some of my a notebook tour, like revving up for NaNoWriMo and the month of November. And so I'm see you guys again very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.